Jay here for Stretford Paddock. This is it. This is the big one. Manchester United hosting Crystal Palace in the Premier League. Joining me is Mr. James Young, who is a United We Stand writer. He's a poet. He's a journalist. He's a radio presenter. You do a lot, don't you?
Yeah, a lot of master of all trades, all of that. Yeah,
yeah, exactly. Yeah. We're going to get into it. Make sure you're hitting like, share and subscribe. I want to get into some of the players and all this stuff, but how much are you enjoying life being a Red at the moment?
It's great. I mean, we're winning games of football, unbeaten still under Michael Carrick. I don't feel like I'm as nervous as I was under Amrin, where it always felt like something was going to go wrong.
Yeah.
And even, edging out a 1-0 result the other week, you're thinking, okay, it's not the best, prettiest football, but, United won the game, and that's the difference compared to the previous manager, where it was like, I just felt like United were just always on the verge of catastrophe,
They were, and I didn't... One thing I didn't enjoy about the Ruben Amorim tenure was how divided the fan base became, because there was part of the fan base was saying, look, let's back him, let's stick with him. Others saying, look, I can't stomach this isn't good enough. And it feels like right now, at this current moment, everyone is behind Michael Carrick, everyone is loving what he's trying to do, the players are responding, the fans are responding. It's just it's a pretty positive time at the minute to be a Red, and long may it continue. Now, a big part of the success Michael Carrick has had since he's come back to Manchester United has been Harry Maguire, a man who in the past has had ups and downs as a United player, but on the whole of things has been a very good servant to the club. The manager was asked a little bit about Harry Maguire's future at the club in his press conference. He was full of praise for him, as you'd expect. What have you made of Maguire since he's come in? Because he sort of made his return to the team, didn't he, for the City game, and he hasn't looked back.
He's the exact type of player that you want in the team, someone who is kept fighting for his place in the squad. He's always been really professional with that, especially when he got the captaincy taken off him under the previous manager. I think, in terms of a contract extension, it makes perfect sense because he's an experienced player in the dressing room, and also he's a threat from set pieces. We've seen him score before against Liverpool and those big games as well, and especially with the younger players United have in the team, you need a level of people like him and a blend of experience with the youth coming through as well. So I think he knows the club really well. I think he understands it, and also he's been in really good form at the minute as well. He's very much a wise head in that dressing room.
He is, and look, you might argue that he's getting on a bit. Is it time for him to move on or whatever? But I think you're right. We should keep him because, as well, other defenders that might even be keeping him out of the team do have injury problems. Martinez has missed games. De Ligt has been injured since November the 30th. I don't expect him to be fit, certainly not for this game. So it's like you could let Maguire go because you think, we've got Martinez, we've got De Ligt. Obviously, you've got Lenny Yoro and Aidan Heaven and other players as well coming from the academy. But you might end up missing him. You might end up needing him, especially if some of those players' injuries continue.
Exactly. I mean, United don't have the best record when it comes to defenders getting injured. I mean, we've got one at the minute with Martinez. Maybe we don't know what's going to happen with that. But also, it's an area of the pitch, especially with Dorgu as well. It's more likely to get players injured. And in terms of squad depth, United have suffered with that recently. So it makes sense to keep him around. He doesn't necessarily have to start every game, but I think it would be crazy to sell him.
Yeah, I've just got a quote here from Michael Carrick. He said, Harry's an impressive character. He's had a great career so far, and hopefully there's a lot more to come. I think in what he's been here and the journey and the experience that he's had, certainly since he's been here and with England as well, I think show exactly what he is. We all know the player that he is and what he's capable of doing. He was kind of pressed, Michael Carrick, on how much of a say he'll have in Maguire's contract extension if it happens, but he's sort of been a little bit coy there because he can't give too much away. I'm sure he doesn't quite know what the future may hold for both him and Maguire, but I don't think anyone would be complaining if if Harry Maguire
but also,
got a one-year contract extension.
How much would you get for him? That's the other thing. There's no point selling him for whatever, 10-15 million pounds.
No, I agree. And that, as you mentioned, that leadership he brings, that experience he brings, just that sort of... We saw it at the Hill Dickinson when it was all getting a bit rough and tumble, wasn't it? And he was throwing James Tarkowski into the net. And we saw it against City when he was putting Bernardo Silva into the stands. In fact, Harry Maguire's a bit of an hard man, I didn't even realise. Let's talk about the other end of the pitch then. Benjamin Sesko. In great form, can't stop scoring, playing really well. He might not be getting his flowers off everyone, and some ex-United players still seem determined to underplay how good he's been. But what have you made of him over the last few weeks.
That goal really reminded me, I think it was Arsenal away, United had that counter-attack and Nani just ran about sort of 20 miles to catch up with the ball, and we've not seen that from him really. We know he's capable of it, but it's really great to see him finally, getting in those areas that we know he's capable of, and also he looks hungry to score more goals, and I think, it's not helped obviously with injuries and not being able to get, consistency in terms of performances, but I think he's been really good in the last couple of games, and we're starting to see what type of player he is as well, properly as well. A lot of people said maybe he was a bit slow, and I remember actually the Everton game at home before Christmas, and he just looked a bit off it. Whereas now it's like he looks like a totally different player.
Yeah, I think, is it 5 goals in his last 6 appearances in the Premier League? I mean, that's sort of Erling Haaland style numbers. You can't fault that. You can't question it. And for a player who's not started, who's still giving his all, he's not spat his dummy out, he's not knocking on the manager's door and kicking off from what we gather. He's sort of been coming off the bench, been getting goals, been playing his part in wins and obviously the draw at West Ham as well. And I think that he deserves a lot of credit for the way he's gone about it. And you can see why United bought him, can't you? There's a real quality there. And I think that when he first came and he had a bit of a tough start, and I remember some people going, we've bought another Rasmus Højlund, and I think we haven't. You can see the difference between Benjamin Sesko and Rasmus Højlund. I'm not trying to hate on Højlund, but they're just not even similar. I think Benjamin Sesko is just better. So he's given the manager something to think about, but in a positive way. And we're going to get to starting 11s in a minute, where we can get your thoughts on whether he should be starting or whether you expect him to be starting under Michael Carrick. But I think there's every reason for Benjamin Sesko to be expecting to start playing more minutes, starting more games for Manchester United, because he's playing so well and scoring so many goals that I know there's always that super sub thing, but eventually you have to force the issue where you go, look, he's always scoring goals. It's time to give him a start. Before we get into that though, before we get into our starting 11s, so if you film yourself on your phones in landscape for 30 seconds, give us your score prediction and send it to paddockmatchday@gmail.com, and we'll use that as part of our pre-match build-up on the watch-along, paddockmatchday@gmail.com. Right, let's talk predicted 11s. This is the team you think is going to start against Crystal Palace. James, talk us through your team. I think the back in fact, actually, let's get into the back 4, because we don't think Martinez is going to be fit, so you think Lenny Oro comes in, bit of a no-brainer? Yeah,
it makes sense really, as well, a player that actually we're seeing more of in recently, and I actually think he's playing pretty well. And I think he's especially a player that, a bit like Sesko, we're starting to see more of a character with him and starting to see a bit more of a personality. And it's also a shame that Dorgu looks like he's going to be out for a long time, because we were just starting to get the best out of him as well.
Ballon Dorgu, absolutely. He goes under the radar because he's so good and essential to this sort of setup as well. It's really frustrating that he got injured just when he just peaked as a United player as well. Hopefully he's peaked
but
forever,
it's the same, with Yoro last season, he was getting a good run of consistency and then he got injured and we didn't see him for ages, so... Gutted.
So Mainu and Casemiro, obviously, they start every game. This isn't the Ruben Amorim era. The front 4, you've got Sesko coming in and you've dropped Ahmad, or you think he's going to drop Ahmad. Obviously, this is your predicted 11. Why do you think he's going to do that?
I just think he's in the form of his life, Sesko, and it doesn't make sense, especially after the game. The only reason I could see him not starting him is to rest him, because United only played on a Monday, and I think he's a player that works his arse off basically, and maybe starting him again if you're going to play him in the same role. Palace at home, but then also United don't have any more games this season, so it's not as if you want to rest him because you've got bigger games coming up. So United don't really need to rotate the squad that often. The only other reason is maybe just to keep Palace on their toes a bit by starting Ahmad instead, but also I think Sesko's just in the form of his life, so I don't see why you'd start Ahmad instead over him really.
I agree with almost everything you've said. We go to my team, very similar. I think it's not until you get to the front 4 there's a slight difference. I agree with you about Sesko. I think he will start. I think it's time for him to come in. The only thing I disagree with is a little bit about rotation, because we've actually got a game after the Palace game in a few days at St James's. So I think he might have a view to that and thinking, I've got to mix it up a little bit here, because I think that's, for me, maybe the only time Michael Carrick's done something you could class as a mistake since he's come back was for that West Ham game. We looked a little bit leggy, and I think it coming so soon, after was it the Spurs game that was just before? And we're not used to play. I know you should be, but we're not used to playing 2 games in a week because we never do that anymore. I think he might need to shuffle it slightly. So I said it against Everton. I said I don't expect Sesko to start against Everton. I do expect him to start against Crystal Palace, even more so since he scored a goal as well. I've gone with Ahmad keeping his place and Cunha being rotated. I think Cunha did a very good pass for the goal, and he has been quite good this season, but it's been decent under Michael Carrick as well. Ahmad's been a little bit up and down. I think he's been more up than down, to be fair to him. I just don't think the numbers have backed him up, but he does work hard. I just wonder whether he might just stick with Ahmad, and he might actually, for the game against Newcastle, do a bit more of a swap.
Yeah, it's just, I think a team like Palace, I'd want Ahmad to come off the bench with half an hour to go if United are drawing 0-0 instead of starting him, just because he just provides a bit more of that impetus.
Do you think that's better to have Ahmad off the bench than Cunha if it was a choice out of those two? Fair enough. Get involved in the chat in the comments. Let us know what you think. Do you agree with James, myself? Do you have your own 11? Let us know whether you think we've got it right or wrong. And don't forget, while you're doing it as well, to hit subscribe. Right, let's talk about Palace, because about 4 or 5 months ago, right, Oliver Glasner could do no wrong. They were on a 20-odd game unbeaten run. They'd won the Community Shield, or the Charity Shield for people of certain age like me. They'd beaten City in an FA Cup final. That his star was shining brightly, and everyone was sort of touting him as the next United manager. However, since those heady days, he's had a bit of a patchy run. I think if I'm looking at the last 8 games, they've lost 4 of them and drawn 2 and won 2, so it's not great. And it's not just the results that have been patchy. He's also kicked off with his owners and the board because he's not happy about the lack of investment, which I understand because he's lost some of his best players. Obviously lost Mark Gay in the January window. He lost Eberechi Eze in the summer. He's lost other players as well. So he's obviously frustrated at that. But he's also had a pop at the fans, which is never a good look, telling the fans to be a bit more humble. Almost saying they should be grateful that they've been winning things and having trips to Wembley and being in Europe and all the rest of it. So it does feel like he's unravelled somewhat. With all that being said, what do you make of Crystal Palace? How worried are you about them?
Well, I think they totally overachieved last season, to be honest, which is the problem. I mean, they're a good mid-table side, and there's nothing wrong with that. They're Crystal Palace. You know, they were in the Championship for a long time before they were in the Premier League, and I think if you spoke to most Palace fans, they'd probably be happy staying in the Premier League. It's just because they've been on a really good run last season, and also they could still win a trophy this season with the Conference League. I know they knocked out Zrinski Mostar last night. You know, the Conference League is more favourable.
Not to be sort of patronising and patting them on the head, but if Palace won the Europa Conference, they'd be absolutely buzzing. Exactly. Look at West Ham a couple of seasons ago, like winning a European trophy for a club at Crystal Palace, where I think the FA Cup was the first major trophy win they've had other than like promotional trophies. Like that's phenomenal. If you can win 2 trophies in 2 seasons and one of them's in Europe, I don't think.
And they're not realistically going to go down, only because I think the bottom 2 are already finished anyway. Really, so
yeah, we'll have to wait and see what happens. I just think it's a bit of a unhappy camp.
And I know they have signed players. I mean, Brennan Johnson's a good player, but he's not going to take them to that next level of finishing 5th, 6th every season in the league. No,
I mean, they've got Ismail Assar, who I quite like. He's a good player. Jean-Philippe Mateta, who he was going to go, wasn't he? I don't know what happened there. I thought he'd gone, but no, he didn't. He stayed. And then they've got 1 or 2. Obviously, the player that we've been linked with as well, Adam Wharton, who is, you know, there's going to be a few suitors for, I think, in the summer, and I expect Manchester United to be one of them. He's done very well. He's in with a half decent chance of making the World Cup squad as well. So he's one to keep an eye on. So they have got some good players, but yeah, it's been a bit of a weird one. Get involved with the chat in the comments and let us know what you think. Obviously as well, Dean Henderson. We all hate him, don't we? Oh, Dean Henderson.
Still wearing his baseball cap.
Yeah. God, he's just extra, isn't he? He's just an extra guy. Do you remember when we played him away and he was like cheering after that save?
You know, I know United players have done some strange things in the past, but that TalkSport interview you gave is still one of the most stupid things I've ever seen.
I'm so glad you brought that up, right? You're so right, because
what are you doing?
He basically had a very good chance of being United's #1 goalkeeper for the next 15 years, and he decided to throw it all away with one TalkSport interview. It was just weird. because he was obviously annoyed that he felt he wasn't going to be number one over David De Gea, and then said he didn't even want to train or play under Erik ten Hag and show him what it was about in case Erik ten Hag kept him. So he went on loan to Crystal Palace instead. But it was baffling because there was, like I said, like there's a sort of alternative universe where we don't buy Andre Onana, we don't buy Ali Bayindir, we don't even buy Senna Lomans. I'm not saying I'm glad we didn't, I'm glad we've got him, but we don't buy these players. Dean Henderson gets himself back in the United team because he was number one under Ollie for a spell and stays our goalkeeper.
Or Henderson starts the Europa League final against Villarreal and saves penalties in the shootout.
Or even comes on. Yeah, who knows? Yeah, it could have been so different, but anyway, he's busy at Palace wearing his cap and making cheering when he
dresses
saves
like someone that's on like behaviour report in school.
I just think he dresses like he's trying to fit in with youngsters but isn't. With all that being said, then give us your score prediction.
I think United will win. I don't think it'll be comfortable because Palace are a difficult side to play against, but I'm going to say 2-1 to United.
2-1 to Manchester United. Yeah, I think that's quite reasonable. I'm going to go with... I think it'll be... You know what? I think we're due to give someone a bit of an idea. I'm going to go 4-1 United.
Good.
Yeah. I don't know. I might probably eat my words, but I'm going to go 4-1 United. Youngie's gone 2-1 United. I've gone 4-1. Get involved in the chat in the comments. Send us your score predictions to paddockmatchday@gmail.com. 30-second score prediction, and we'll use that as part of our pre-match build-up. Go and check him out. You can find him on all your socials and find him writing for United We Stand as well. That's been James Young. I'm Jay Moyer. This has been a preview. Manchester United playing Crystal Palace. Don't forget to check out the merchandise as well. And thanks for watching.